Hi everybody, I'm Rick Crosbie from Finch Chevrolet in London, Ontario, Canada, and you're watching Cars and Crosby. We've got a new set, we've got a new Corvette, we've got tons of stuff to talk about today. I have two interviews for you guys today as well. We're going to talk to Rick Conti, and we're going to get that dealership side that you and I are all interested in learning more about. And then we're also going to talk to Justin from Horsepower Obsessed, because as you know, I like to look at my Corvettes from a different perspective as not only a dealership, but also as a car enthusiast. So I'm excited to see what Justin has to say, as there was a ton of people that were tuning into his live stream and asking a lot of really good questions. And so I'm sure he's been asked a lot of things that I want to be able to pass along to you guys as well, and get just from Justin his opinion of it, because I've really started to value what he has to say in terms of the aftermarket approach to a lot of these things that we can do on our vehicles. And in terms of research, I gotta tell you, my AWE exhaust, Justin was a big component of that in helping me and reassuring me and knowing that that was the right option to go with. So I'm excited to be able to talk to him as well, as he's gonna gain some insight for all of us to be able to take away what he thinks of this all-new Z06 Corvette. Now, you guys are really going to start to see my Canadian accent come through, because we say Z06, and I know that you guys say Z06 downstairs in America. So stay tuned with me, guys. We've got an all Corvette episode talking about the brand new Z06 coming your way. All right, guys, someone that I've looked up to in the car world for a long time is with me right now. Rick Conti, how you doing, man? How you feeling?
I'm pretty excited. I actually cut my vlog presentation for the Z06 reveal in two, because I was excited to spend the time to talk with you tonight. So thanks, man.
Well, I appreciate that, man. There's a lot of information that we're taking in, and I think a lot of the people that are going to be watching our channels are going to be looking towards the dealer's perspective on this release. And just with the amount of experience that you had, and this being obviously not your first Z06 release, what do you think about what you've heard so far from a dealership's perspective?
It's insane, and it's overwhelming. Partly because of what the car is, but also partly because of what we didn't find out today.
Yeah.
Pricing, quantities, stuff that you and I will talk about here in a minute.
Yeah, I already chimed in on your post that you had on Facebook about what you think the base price is going to be. My bet's at $89,900, and I'm hoping that that's the case. It's a lot like high school. You got to take these rumors and weigh them to whatever level you want. And in my opinion, there's a lot of people that are saying that it's going to be kind of the same price point that you saw on the C7 platform, which was about 25 grand more. And that, to me, it makes sense, especially when you look at all these high ticket item features that they're adding on, and that kind of strategy that they've been going towards for a little while.
Yeah, my initial guess was going to be like 92, 795. And then I backed it off only because I know for the intro of the car, I thought, if we come below 90 grand, what an incredible statement to the world, what a car this is. But really, truly, the car that everybody's going to want is going to be the 3 package and the step up and all those extra items that we saw today. All that carbon fiber, the interior, the wheels, the stuff around the engine. Oh man, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, I just got a little bit into that configurator that they have there. There's 8 different wheel options that they have, and one of my favorite things that I've already seen is this new stealth interior option, where it starts to smoke out all the covers on the speakers and everything like that, and it kind of gives it a more of a dark tone inside. That was, to me, something that I was not expecting, and I can greatly appreciate it. So I think you're bang on with your estimations. I know that Mark Royce would be able to have that headliner out there if he could keep that price point in the 90 to 92 range, and I think that you're right on the money with it. In terms of production, I was just looking in at Corvette Blogger, and it looks to me like they're talking about it being a start date in the summer of 2022. Is that what you're hearing on your end as well?
Yeah, they put a teaser to that effect on the Z06 reveal page, so that falls into everything that they've been doing is trying to stop this extension like they did in 2020 and get back into normal production timeline. So I'm anticipating that we're going to see that cut in that middle part of June, start up in July, and get back to our normal cycle. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Other than that, all we know is what was on the teaser page.
Yeah, and we're kind of used to waiting and anticipating things. I feel like that's a part-time thing that we have as our career. And just a note to everyone that's watching this, we get just as excited and we have to wait just as long as you guys do, and we're all in the same boat together. And I think that at any point of the process, wherever you come in and you join in and the experiences from Rick or I in ordering a vehicle, we feel just the same things that you do. And that's one of the reasons why we do these things, is to make sure that you guys can get as much information. And when we find something out, Rick and I are going to be the ones that are going to help you out with that. So we're trying to find out things. I'm sure that in the near future, we're going to have more details that come about from it. But, I guess we're about 10 months away, and it sounds a lot on paper, but I know that with the things that are going on in the Corvette world, it won't be that long.
Yeah, well, as well as I do, you've got great relationship with your customers and the folks that are growing for you on YouTube. And I know from my years of study and tenure that Corvette people want to buy from Corvette people. They want to buy from enthusiastic and knowledgeable people, not a guy that sells a lot of trucks and, hey, by the way, Bill, I'd like to get one of those Corvettes. Yeah. Those are pretty good. I'll get you one of those. Well, can you tell me anything about it? I don't know. It's pretty cool. I hear.
Here's the website.
No, we've got to have an in-depth conversation, and that's what we're doing. One of the things that bothered me, I guess bothers probably not the right word, but concerned why the hurry for the 1026 reveal that we had today. Why not wait till LA? You've got a great world stage. And the only thing I can take away from that is the information that I had confirmed today as well, is they're doing a dealer tour of the Z06. So that probably is why they wanted to get that out there. We have an opportunity to purchase that at a great expense.
Oh, wow.
It's a panache thing to have that tour here, as they did for the launch of the C8. And they'll have the Z06 here with the wall of information and wheels and interiors and all that. So I'm not sure when that's coming, but we did sign up for it.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, I don't want to, I didn't want to put you on the spot and ask if you're going to do it, but if you're already announcing that, I definitely think that we should definitely be doing something where we can come down, because I don't see that being the case in Canada, where we're going to be able to have that trip. So if that's the case, wow, my mind is just thinking right now about doing an adventure road trip down to see you guys when you do that. I'm assuming you probably don't know when that'll be at this point.
Dealer tour stuff, when they did the dealer tour stuff in 2020, did you guys have the opportunity to get that tour up there?
We tried. We inquired about it, but we weren't able to do that. So I don't want to piggyback on your event or anything like that. I'll probably be off the Cars and Crosby channel and more on your channel for that one. But I would absolutely be honored to come down. Ohio's not that far away. You guys are actually kind of directly below where we are in Ontario, Canada. So there's just a big lake in the middle.
So let's talk about this car a little bit, man.
Yeah.
What do you think about this car, dude?
So some things that I'm really talking about, or that I'm enamored about, is the fact that when they were talking about the engineering behind it, that they were really using the racetrack to develop it, and that they're just making that something that can fit in your driveway. And I really, looking at somebody as a car salesman, where we read and interact with people all day long, you got a lot of proud dad and proud mom moments on those engineers and the people that were talking in that video, and you could really tell how proud they were of what they had come up with. And I could kind of feel from even talking to Mark Royce, or hearing Mark Royce, that this was the best of the best that they had to put forward. And that to me made me really proud to be on the other end of this product, because I could really see that there was a lot of heart and soul and energy, and even little details like having Easter eggs like the little rocket ships on the LT6 engine. That was, to me, isn't that cool? Something neat. It's not just a car to them, it's more than that. And they can have little things that mean a lot to them go onto the vehicle. Having the ability for this thing to do 670 horsepower, that's great. But having it also rev really quickly, that was something that I was really interested in hearing more about. And then the one big thing, as being a devil's advocate, that I was really concerned about was vibrations. When you're getting into the largest displacement flat plate crank engine ever built, the larger the engine gets, the more the vibrations can be. And so I was really happy to hear that they were really working towards reinforcing the crankcase and other components in the powertrain to reduce the amount of vibrations that could come from it. So, we haven't driven it, you and I, yet, but in terms of the little details and the engineering that was involved in it, it really gave me a lot more peace in mind in knowing that we have a really great product coming down the pipes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of information that we haven't gotten yet. Sorry, I'm getting
Totally.
that we haven't gotten yet on this car, and I'm excited about that. Also, I'm hoping that with the dealer tour, maybe there's going to be a dealer training hands-on at Spring
Maybe.
Mountain. That would be that. Yeah,
I would be honored.
Ready for that. Yeah,
So
and one of the things I like that the thing afterwards in my video yesterday I didn't share was the after talk after the presentation, and I thought it was neat that Oliver Gavin was there.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. And I like the 2 quotes that he said, that this is a global supercar. And then he also said an amazing moment for Corvette. So Oliver is the perfect guy to be there. And just seeing his excitement, how he said that car feels so much like the race car. And even Tad said at the beginning of that movie is that we've never gotten the race car and the street car so close together that we have right now.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And he's kind of an ambassador for the racing world, but also having that background, obviously being from Europe. I think it was really good insight to hear from him that this is going to be a global vehicle. And it's really interesting to start seeing our viewer base. I'm sure that you see it on your side start to expand from just being North America to now being a global viewership on our channels.
Absolutely. I mean, it's unfortunate I don't have an opportunity in the news side, and I'm sure the same restrictions apply in Canada.
Yeah.
That we can't facilitate sales beyond our regions. That's too bad, but it is good. I mean, I got a lot of great fans in the Australian Corvettes Down Under Club. They actually were here about 4 or 5 years ago, and people all over in Saudi Arabia, Japan, that I hear from constantly. So it's neat to see that this is a global car, and the popularity and the fan base is growing by leaps and bounds right now.
I don't want to put a second goal on the timeline for you and I, but it would be really remarkable if we could at one point in the future do a meetup with all the C8 people that have, purchased these vehicles from all around the world in the next few years. It's really remarkable to think that this is now a global vehicle and it's no longer just something that we have in North America. So I completely agree with what you had to say about Oliver Gavin. So in terms of price point, we kind of are speculating. We don't really know right now. We think that this is going to be something that would start to be produced and delivered near the end of next year, so less than a year from now. Is there any other things that you think we're going to be getting in terms of information? How do you think that they're going to trickle out the information moving forward?
Well, that's hard to say right now. I mean, we've got enough to talk about right now for quite some time.
Yep.
And that'll be at their discretion. I don't think you'll see anything until maybe beginning of the year or late winter, early spring to get you ready for ordering. Those will be the next dates. And then we'll get more specific information. I think they're afraid to say, here's all the ordering information for 2023, because then all of a sudden you show your hand for what new colors that'll be coming for 2023. And that's eventually got to come out because there's going to be some drops for 2022.
And I don't want to put you on the spot with this, but do you think that there will be an anniversary edition color that will be specific, or do you think that they'll just introduce it to everything?
That's a good point. I forgot about that. And if you go back to 2018, they did the 65 anniversary as the carbon 65
My color.
car. And the ceramic matrix. And that was kind of under the radar. There was no big fanfare that, hey, this is the anniversary car. So it may be the same thing, even though I think it should be something much different for 70th anniversary. Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I anticipate that. I anticipate 2, if not 3 new colors for 2023. The other takeaway too, I got some notes here. I just watched every little detail as the best I could in that presentation. The wall that everybody rumored that the wall of HVAC controls, that's going away in 23. Absolutely not. It's still there. You can see it's there. It was in the teasers when Amelia was hanging on to it. And there's no reason to get rid of that, in my opinion. That's how the car's designed. That's part of the flow and the architecture. I say leave it alone. Leave it as you designed it. Let's move forward and not waste money and time going backwards. And other things I noticed on the back of the car, the hatch, like on your car now and on the trunk lid of the 22s, you've got the Stingray emblem. Now it's a Corvette emblem that's on the back. I noticed that. And
I didn't pick up on that. Good eye, Rick.
Dude, come on, man. I watch everything, even though these guys are tired sometimes. I'm like, what was that? I'm paying attention to everything. I was impressed by the 0 to 60 time. Impressed with the horsepower.
Sorry to interject, but no transmission updates in any way. related to 0 to 60, obviously our dual clutch had a lot to do with it on the Stingray. I was interested to see that they didn't really bring up anything
about that. And yeah, I don't know if they needed to. Maybe that's just an attribute to how great the DCT really is. And everybody rests on what that horsepower number is. And from your car, and I know from my car, it doesn't feel like a 495 horsepower
Not
car.
in the least bit.
670 is impressive, but with the mid-engine architecture and that push power now, that's going to feel like ZR1 territory, in my opinion, back into the mid 700s.
Yeah, our car was a power limited vehicle, and it needed a little bit more oomph, and it definitely got that.
Yeah, I noticed inside the car too. Sorry, I'm looking down at some notes here.
No, I love it. This is great. I like to hear your cheat notes on this.
Yeah, and I was going to do this in my blog, and I'm like, I'm going to talk to Morgan anyway. So
this is awesome. Keep going.
All together with you, man. The speaker behind the seats, they got the Z06 logo.
I saw that.
I noticed that in one of the shots. The other thing I thought was impressive was the engine and how it looked. And as big as I am on the convertible, I mean, that's where my heart is for just everything that car has to offer, from performance, look, and user friendliness. Seeing the architecture on the, and I'm using that word a lot, but I mean, that's really proper for this car because it's so sculpted. I mean, this car's so sculpted, but the engine appearance package around this flat plane crank engine, all that carbon fiber is just stunning. So it's like, man, maybe I want to have a coupe. But what I noticed on that is they had that little plaque there. Do you notice people's names?
Yeah.
So I anticipate for 2023, just throwing this out there too, but I think it's coming back, and I think people are going to say I'm right on this, is that you're going to have the ability to build your own Z06 engine as we have.
The engine experience package. Now, there was a lot to unpack on what you just said, and I agree with you that plaque is definitely something that I really think is a great touch to.
There was two different names on that.
Oh, really? I didn't even
think
of
there was two different names. So
you got the eagle eye.
There's different names. I mean, hey, get your hand in the air and get your checkbook out. Here it comes.
Oh boy! Now, just to refresh our memories, was it a $5,000 option to do that when you were doing it? Okay.
Yeah, $5,000.
So the plenums that are on that are an 87 millimeter intake, and it's quite a large intake on this flat plane crank. And there was two things that I learned from Taj that I thought were really interesting. The first thing is that he was really wanting to pay an homage to the C6 Z06, which had the LT7. And he was saying that they didn't put a blower on it because they couldn't fit it if they were going to do the hardtop convertible version. So that was something really interesting to take away from it. And, this plenum, it's a big honking hunk of thermal resistant plastic on it. It's not the prettiest thing. I'm going to be very interested to see how expensive this engine appearance package is, because I couldn't see anyone wanting to order it without that option.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's a given. And that's the stuff that I think that you have to have. All that carbon fiber in the interior. I did a video a while ago talking about right now how much carbon fiber on a C8 coupe you can get.
I know it.
Over $26,000. I think you're going to add another 20 to that.
Yeah, we're going to have a little small house of carbon fiber on that now. That's a really good point, and it'll be a great episode to follow up with you on in terms of how much that is. Now, when you look at the interior, that center console, do you think that there will be an option for people that have a Stingray Corvette to be able to order that part from the parts department and do it to their Corvette? So basically retrofit some of these options that you're seeing on the Z06 or Z06 into the new Stingrays.
Guys do that all the time. Now you sound like a Corvette guy. Guys do that all the time. It's like, hey, I got buy the Z06, but I'm like, hey, can I get the wing? Can I get...
I already had some people asking me that question, and you know what? I thought, I bet you Rick would know really well how, if that would be something that he could see happening.
I think so, yes, but I think it's going to be down the road because we're all still suffering from part supply issues.
Huge.
So I don't think that's going to be available right away. I think it's well into production, and there's no hiccup in production providing the retail units before we can even get that. But yes, at some point, you bet that's going to be coming available.
Just for a reference on what Rick's talking about, this GTLM series IMSA edition, while that was being produced, we weren't able to get the 5VM ground effects and a couple of other options. And that was, again, directly related to the fact that there wasn't a lot of these parts that they had available. So I think that Rick's bang on with that insight that you won't be able to do that until down the road.
On my C8R editions, on our orders, it was free flow, man. Unusually,
really?
We were able to get whatever we wanted, either the carbon flash full length or the exposed carbon fiber. We were able to get them, so there was no restrictions there. So I was surprised.
Wow. Now, I guess we should just touch upon It could be. Now, let's just touch upon what's going on in the current world. Last night, you mentioned to me that there was some updates in the Bowling Green facility in terms of production. Have you got any more insight on what's going on down there right now?
Not really. You guys are already talking about that right now, and I didn't want to really talk about that because it's really
Okay.
nothing we can control.
It's true.
But yeah,
You're
everybody
right.
knows that this week the second shift is down. Okay, so what does that do? It's no different than if they call me 30, 40, 50 times. It doesn't make their car come any quicker. There is a process. It is what it is. We're trying to facilitate. We're backed up over 2 years of allocations.
And how many weeks are we in a row of producing right now? Is it 25 weeks in a row of production? I believe it's in that area. Like we're over 10,000 Corvettes and in one stint.
Well, and I got worried about that, and I said, here, we've, knock on wood, we've been so lucky and fortunate to keep going and prioritizing Corvette. I mean, that is the halo car for Chevrolet and General Motors. But the guys in the Suburban and the big SUVs, small SUVs, the Silverados, they're going to say, hey, enough of Corvette getting the chips because we're ordering product now. You know this too. That
I do.
Hey, I can get this stuff, but I can't get this feature and I can't get that feature because there's not the chips to support that feature. But we can still get your truck. And you're like, hey, I want more than 4 wheels, a steering wheel, and some windows. I mean,
Absolutely.
I want my heated steering wheel. I want my backup camera. I want the towing package. So somewhere there's going to be a trade-off, and really, ultimately, I think we need to look at let's get back to having the chips, and let's just start doing business. And thankfully, that we have the consumers that want to still buy these products right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Rick touched upon a really great point. In Canada here, we can sell all 4 brands, so I kind of have an idea of what the production's like on every single vehicle. And if you're suckered into or you're fixated in on the Corvette world, you may not realize how bad this situation is and how much the Corvette takes preferential treatment in terms of getting allotment. We are very blessed at the end of the day at how much of the resources for General Motors goes towards this Corvette. And it may sound like a little bit of a bump in the road with this production for next week, but in reality, we're on such a winning streak right now compared to other product lineups that we have. And that's not just to say that this is a GM problem. If you go to your Ford dealership or any of these other lots, you're going to see the same issues.
Yeah, I agree. And I haven't had a chance to play around with, because partly the site's crashing, but they do have a little bit of a configurator on there. The visualizer actually is what it is. It's not the actual configurator yet. But I noticed that they have a full Adrenaline red interior, and I'm excited.
You picked up on that. I saw that. That was pretty interesting.
A big heritage for Corvette. Yeah, man. Yeah, red interior, baby. Bring it on. I love it.
So what would you do for the outside with that?
Yeah, I don't know. I was afraid you were going to ask me that. I don't know. And that's a lot more car than I think that I need. It's a lot more car than I can handle. It's certainly a lot more car than I can afford. But if those things weren't a factor, yeah, I would love to have this Z06 in a heartbeat, man.
Yeah, I don't have my name down either.
Yeah, I think Rapid Blue is still my baby. And I'd have to, although I don't think the red interior goes well with Rapid Blue, I'd have to find a way that red.
Unless you're Superman.
Something else. Hey, maybe red on red, man. Maybe a red on red.
Yeah, it's a pretty good look.
Never have too much red when it comes to Corvette, in my opinion.
So at the end of the day tonight, when you're going to be winding down, what do you think that you're going to take away from this event more than anything after what we've seen today?
I can just tell from the response already. I was going through my database yesterday and then late last night when you and I spoke, just seeing the sustainable excitement, desire, and demand for this car into its 3rd model year.
Huge.
I mean, it's not over. And nothing against Stingray, but, I'll just reflect on that for a quick second. At 14, Stingray came out. There was a pent-up demand because it was such a long stretch before we had a new car. That was big. And then it really kind of fizzled out for Stingray in 2015, but Z06 took the forefront. And then after that, it kind of was just, there was cars everywhere. I don't think we're in the cars everywhere stage. And I think it's still a couple of years before we get to that. And by then, you're going to have, who knows what's coming next in this platform. But I'm impressed that at this point in my career, I consider myself, I'm a lot older than you, but I consider myself, on this 10-year package. And it's great to be a part of this. And there's so much more to come that it's,
Oops.
So I'll apologize. Yeah,
that's someone trying to order a Z06.
I was surprised it didn't happen sooner. To be a part of this at this level, bring on all the other variants. That's great. The other versions of the C8. I'm so pleased with my 2021. I just can't wait to share more journeys with people. I'm really impressed at the
Yep.
response of this car, and again the demand. Um, I think looking back at these last couple of years, people are viewing their own lives differently, and we're all trying. There they come. Sorry about that. Sorry,
No,
Morgan.
no problem. People are trying to come.
Yeah, I'm in this dramatic. I just lost you there for a second. In this dramatic thought process, but yeah, I think everybody's trying to find a way to make life a little bit more meaningful, and we know how emotionally connected we are to our
Yep.
cars, and there's certainly something special about Corvette, but even more so right now.
I couldn't agree more. You know, I did my honeymoon in my Corvette going around the country when we were in the lockdown. And I know that I'll definitely never forget that as an event. And, you know, going to these events and seeing people like you that have so many different experiences with people, that is really what makes me go to work every day and not think of this as a job, but more of a lifestyle. So I couldn't agree more with what you had to say. Rick, I really appreciate.
I'm going to ask you one thing before you close. I
Of
apologize.
course.
And I alluded this to yesterday's vlog. And again, just being honest, and I think because we communicate in such a realistic fashion, that's why our
Yep.
customers relate to us. GM has marketed this car as the streets will never sound the same.
Mm-hmm.
Agreeable. So we've got to go to new territory. But man, I'll tell you what, I love the C7 ZR1 and that deep, throaty,
Yeah, that love
ballsy
dub.
sound, and it's impressive. And I forget the verbiage. I've got to find what Tad said. Again, I haven't a chance to dissect that, but I like how they're focused on the Z06, how they've designed that exhaust tip to look
Yep.
good, but the way that they're actually engineering that sound to go back into the cabin. They want the outside and the inside to have the experience of this car. It's a different. So, what do you think with that? I hate to say it, but everybody's saying Ferrari sounding car, but
Yep.
it is. So, and that's the era that we're in. I mean, do you like that, or do you miss that deep throat? Because you've seen C7s come through.
Yeah, so I'm a bit of an old soul. I really do like the old school muscle car sound. And to me, the C7 generation, if I close my eyes, is definitely what the Corvette sounds like. And I did change the exhaust on my C8 because I did feel that there was a discrepancy. I did that at Carlisle. I got the Carlisle spirit in me. And the C7, in my opinion, exactly with what you were saying, is what I always felt was iconic. And putting that that reverse megaphone in it is really going to be able to help, I think, a lot of people in reliving that kind of enthusiasm and that visceral experience and sound that I don't want to say that the C8 was lacking, but you're fighting a lot of uphill battles with the engine being behind you and then trying to stop all that auxiliary noise that comes from an engine right behind your head. So they were fighting kind of an uphill battle with that mid-engine architecture and trying to make it sound, because it's no longer having an exhaust run right underneath you and having it feed through the firewalls. But I do want to note that Tad said himself that this is all real sound. So it's not like there's a soundtrack that's being played. And to me, again, that's coming from the heart. That's somebody that knows that's what we want. And I could really tell that they were listening to us on a lot of different things when they were coming out with that release. Not just the exhaust, but just even the tires. If you saw that offset that you saw on those wheels and a 13-inch wide barrel on the back, that was awesome. But that parabolic surface to reverse the sound out through science instead of it just being through the raw, American power sound.
Worked on that for 6 years. Do you realize that 6
That's
years?
nuts.
6 has been in development. That's just incredible.
Crazy.
It's impressive to me. And
so the exhaust tip isn't attached to the car. That's crazy. So the exhaust is separate, and then you've got a parabolic reverse microphone. I'm going to be messing that up. I'm sure that there's some verbiage that I missed to bounce that sound back through to the driver.
Yeah,
it's going to be tough to not.
I'm embracing it, because this is our future, and knowing that there's such a thought process from all the guys and gals on the Corvette team to bring us such a product is beyond impressive. It really is beyond impressive.
You know that you've got a good product when you can see that kind of thought process. It's not like they just put fancier buttons and stuff on top of it. Sure. You can see the ingenuity behind it. And that's what at the end of the day is going to make me want to open up my wallet. I don't just see it being a better C7 or a better Stingray. They've completely redesigned this vehicle. And even Tad said it himself, the doors, the front hood, and the roof are the only things that are the same.
from the Z06. So that to me says a lot about this vehicle and what it's going to mean to the consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I could sit here for hours talking to you.
I could too. But we got to get back to work. We got to get people calling. Man, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Hey, great talking to you as always, man. Keep up the great work.
See you, Rick. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. We've got a lot to go over today, guys, and I'm gonna go over some of the greatest hits that I've already started to see as being the standout features of this Corvette. First off, headliners. The largest naturally aspirated, most powerful V8 engine on the market. And not only that, it is the most powerful flat plane crank ever created and the largest flat plane crank ever created. That 458 Ferrari, you know, that one that we were talking about back in the day, that's a thing of the past now. 458 actually has to do with the displacement. So it was 4.5 or 4.4 liters in displacement on that V8. We've got a 5.5 liter V8 now. Now we're also gonna go back to the C4 where we had 4 valves per cylinder. So you have 4 individual valves that are made out of titanium on here. I'm going right into the highlights of this engine because that, in my opinion, is the heart of this vehicle. The Z06 is the track-orientated vehicle, and in my opinion, the engine is what they built this Corvette all around. So having a titanium valve and then also having forged aluminum pistons on this vehicle really help out with that 8,600 RPM. And I know that I'm gonna have to eat my words. I said 9,000, but if you rounded it up, it would have been that. At 8,600 RPM, one of the things that a lot of people are worried about is vibrations and valve flow. And with this vehicle, they have a very cool way of being able to do it. I'm gonna get to my technical parts here on some of the things. And in particular, we're gonna be talking about the dual coil springs that are there to reduce the valve flow. Now, also with this being an 8,600 RPM vehicle, there's gonna be some vibrations that I'm really concerned about. And I'm really happy to hear that they reinforced a lot of the powertrain, in particular the crankcase, to the Z06 to make sure that it can hold up to that. When they were testing this vehicle, the vibrations in testing were so great that at some points the oil filter actually fell out of the vehicle while they were testing. So I'm glad to hear that they had some trial and error and they came through it, and they even had some time to put some little Easter eggs like a little rocket ship on the LT6 engine. So, you know, some headliner stats that we're gonna go over again with this. 670 horsepower, the most horsepower we've ever seen in it. I think before that it was 620 that was in a naturally aspirated vehicle in a V8 engine in terms of horsepower outputtage. You have 460 foot-pound torque. That is less than what you have for the horsepower, but at the end of the day, with this powertrain already having a similar amount of torque in the Stingray platform or the regular base platform, it's weird to say that my car is now a base car. We had a 2.8 second 0 to 60 in that. We have a 2.6 second 0 to 60 in this new one. So right off the bat, some headliner statistics that I'm seeing from this are all great things to report, and it being the best of the best and setting the bar a little bit higher than anyone else has ever done in the automotive world. Now, the other thing that I just want to take a step back at and give you guys my 2 cents on is the fact that they really are doing a great job at giving you a track-specific model that you can have in your own driveway. And in my opinion, that is a luxury that a lot of people can maybe get, but at the end of the day, when you're getting it from General Motors, they've over-engineered this product into making sure that you don't have a dainty track-specific model that has to have a lot of maintenance and upkeep charges in order to keep it going in your driveway. I know that I'm talking about something that hasn't even been in someone's driveway yet, but let's just take the common knowledge of General Motors in terms of their engineering and apply it to what we see on this vehicle. And I'm really excited to see all that track-specific technology get into this new Z06 or Z06, depending on where you are. All right, guys, I have Justin from Horsepower Obsessed here, and I'm really, really excited to see Justin and what he has in terms of insight for this, because as you guys already know, he does a really good job at taking what GM does in their Corvettes and all their products, because he has a Colorado ZR2 as well, and kind of giving it that Horsepower Obsessed touch. And he does a lot of research. And if you guys are looking to get a great summary and an insight on some stuff, he does a great job at it. For example, my AWE exhaust, I got to give you props to that. You know, you gave me a lot of confidence in knowing that that was going to be a good product. And so I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about this new Z06.
Yeah, I have absolutely nothing negative to say. I was actually just on the phone with my salesman a little bit ago, and he asked me, he's like, what's your favorite thing? And what's your least favorite thing? And I said, I don't have a least favorite thing. This car is freaking amazing. Like, it literally took my expectations and just blew them to pieces. I mean, the car's fantastic.
Yeah, you know, and I think it's really interesting that I don't want to get this to our heads or anything, but they definitely were listening to us over the last few years when the Stingray was out, because there's a lot of things that you and I were already doing to improve our C8s that they included in the Z06. So just off the top of my head, you know, the rear wheels being a 13-inch barrel with that amazing offset, that to me was music to my ears, and seeing that on there. And then what they were talking about with that reverse megaphone in terms of getting that exhaust note to come into the cabin a little bit more, that's right up our alley. I couldn't be happier with that, and I'm excited to hear about more of this stuff as it comes out. You know, we've got a couple of months, of 7 or 8 months before we're going to start seeing these things built. So obviously another 2 or 3 months after that. I don't know about you, but I definitely going to have a trip down to the States to visit one of these dealerships that's going to do one of these live shows that has them. Do you have anything off the top of your head that really stuck out that maybe some of the viewers that were on your live stream were pointing out?
One of the things that stuck out the most to me, no one else seemed to mention this, but was the carbon fiber level 2 for the interior.
Yeah.
There was no inkling of that coming. So
Totally.
When I saw that, I was like, yep, that's an option I'm checking, because I love carbon fiber, and that looks so good on that interior.
It'll be interesting to see if that stealth interior option that you can get as well is something that you can do on its own, or if you're going to have to get the level 2 carbon fiber to do that. But, you know, just being able to take those Bose speaker covers and then kind of give them that black chrome finish, that to me just changed it all. And then to get the dipped interior in adrenaline red, you know, that takes a lot of confidence to wear that much red in the inside. But I think it's going to be really fun. There's going to be a lot of people out there. I don't know if you've made this public or not yet, but have you given any thought into what kind of Z06 that you would order?
Yeah, so I have talked about this on my stream. Black 3LZ Z07. With the interior will be black, but with red stitching.
Okay, now not to get it back from your build, but I saw that on your stream you had a vote on Z06 or Z07. What was the end result with that, or is that still in the wraps of being voted on?
No, I ended that. There was 2,800 votes, I believe. It might have been 2,500. A lot of votes. It was 67% Z07.
Wow. So let's just rhyme off all the things that we get with that. We get that 2-post mounted high wing spoiler. We've got the ceramic brakes, which is obviously a big touch to it. Are the carbon fiber wheels part of the Z07 package?
It looks like it. They haven't obviously verified that yet, but if I had to guess, it's going to be, at least at first. They may add them later as an added on to just the base Z06, but for now, I think it is.
Wow. So over 2/3 of the people were interested in the Z07 as the one. That's really interesting. And I think that tells GM that they don't need to put on the brakes yet in terms of making all these track-related features. You know, that to me at the end of the day seems to be like that's going to be the most iconic Z06 of them all, the one that you're going to see in the video games and the ones that you're going to see in the next Fast and Furious film and all that kind of stuff. So people are going to identify the Z06 as really a Z07 sooner than later.
Exactly. And that's what I said originally whenever when GM first put out the picture of the Z06, the silver one. Everybody was like, oh, it doesn't look that much different than base. And I said, wait until you see the Z07. Trust me, the Z07 will be worth it.
They call it a teaser for a reason.
Exactly.
So in terms of a time frame, we now kind of know that they're going to be starting to build them in the summer. Do you think that there's going to be any companies that are going to be developing anything to kind of coincide with that? Have you heard anything in the aftermarket world about anyone that's working on anything for the Z07 or the Z06? I'm already calling it the Z07.
I haven't heard anything official, but if I had to guess, ACS will be one of the first ones. Maybe not necessarily the first one, but they will be one of the first ones that actually makes a quality product that works with the car. I have heard from Aerolari Wheels.
Oh, really?
That he already had the Z06 offset and wheels ready to go. So I don't know if you've seen his wheels, but they're really, really freaking nice. So I think that's a really good option if, of course, you don't check that Z07 carbon fiber wheel box.
Yeah. So the rears, if you guys are trying to look into this for the future, they're a 13-inch barrel in the back. And for someone like me that upgraded to a Vossen, I did a 12-inch barrel in the back, and I believe that the stock is 11.5 or 11. So I'm already going to have to maybe put a set of spacers in, or I'm going to have to upgrade. But there's 8 different wheel options now available for the Z06. And I haven't gone through them all yet, but the exposed carbon fiber ones, they make a statement in themselves. But there's even a bronze set of wheels now that I'm really excited about. There's some really nice upgrades that are going to make me seriously consider just upgrading from the factory instead of going to the aftermarket route. They've really nailed it and made it so that the aftermarket options on this are going to be, well, who knows what to think. You know, we're going to have to maybe start looking at some companies that deal with Ferraris and Lamborghinis more often than just the more wholesome ones that we're used to in North America at this point.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've had a lot of GM products, performance products in my time, and every time I got a new GM performance car, I could always count on one thing, and it was the wheels. The wheels were always perfect up until the C8. Like the C8 dropped the ball, and I'm so glad it seems like they fixed that with the Z06 because the wheel option now looks freaking phenomenal, and that's how it should be. Like, you spend this much money on a car, I shouldn't have to also go out and buy a $5,000 wheel set. Like, give me good wheels.
I agree, especially when you look at the price point of what you're doing. I've always said on my channel, if there was one thing that they could have messed up on and dropped the ball on, I'm glad that it was that over a transmission. But at the end of the day, when you're coming out with your flagship on top of a flagship vehicle, you really got to make sure that everything from your outfit is looking the part. And, you know, I think I agree with you. That interior, that really caught me off guard, and I was really excited to see that. I was also talking to Rick Conti a little bit about maybe seeing if some people are going to be upfitting their interiors with some of the Z06 level 2 options down the road. That might be interesting to see. But from a performance perspective, was it everything that you were hoping for? You know, obviously it being the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 is great. But, you know, anything else? We didn't hear anything about the transmission. I was surprised about that.
I thought the same. There's a couple, and I'm actually putting together a video on this right now, but there's a couple very important parts to this car that were noticeably missing. And I just got done talking to my dealership, like I said, and I think GM was about 6 months early with this reveal. And as much as I'm excited, don't get me wrong, I am pumped that this car is finally in the flesh, but there was a lot of information missing that I feel like if they would have waited 6 more months, they would have had it and it would have been a more complete reveal. With that said, I would have put money on the fact that this car was going to have around 630 horsepower. Yeah. When they said 670, my head exploded, and I was like, "Did they just say 670? Like, can someone confirm this?" And then they didn't. I don't think they mentioned in the live stream or the reveal the torque.
No, they didn't.
I had to go on the website to find out.
I was racing around off screen. Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like I had to dig a little too hard to find the information that they weren't necessarily like real proud of. But the 670, like I said, I don't care what the torque is. If they can make that car go 0 to 60 in 2.6, and if they can get it around the Nürburgring in under 7 minutes, that torque could be 3, and I wouldn't care because it's obviously a fast car.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. To me, I got a lot of vibes of the C6 Z06 with that LT7 or the LS7. And that to me, at the end of the day, brought a lot of values that the C7 didn't have, where it had a huge amount of cooling components and it had the Eaton supercharger on top. We've kind of gone to that lean and mean, more agile, nimble platform, or from what I think, from what Oliver Gavin was saying. And, you know, Amelia was even touching upon it when she was with that lady in the Z06 on the Milford Proving Grounds, where even after 8,600 RPM, it's still pulling and stuff like that. And then she was also touching upon how fast it was revving, and I got a little bit of a vibes of an Lexus LFA in terms of how fast it can blip to 8,600. Yeah, you know, to me that's something that on paper is really hard for you to be able to get across, that it's a remarkable vehicle. And I think you're right that the lap time is really going to be the first headliner that's really going to be able to give people an idea of what this can do, because you can say 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds and people might say, all right, well, there's already a Bugatti that can do that. But when you start factoring in the price point and all the other little things that add up to it, I think that that's really going to be it. And it is kind of, I don't want to say unfortunate, but it definitely doesn't shine out the 460 number for the foot-pound torque. It's going to be really interesting to see a dyno in terms of where that torque output is, because they keep going on about how linear that horsepower output is, and in the fact that even, you know, when it's at near the top end, you still have some of that oomph. I'd like to hear what they have to say about the torque output.
Yeah, I mean that was my main concern, is that you put it on a track and we'll say it laps the Nürburgring under 7 minutes, which will be fantastic. How is that going to be to live with on a daily basis, though, driving, you know, from my house to Walmart? You know, is the car still going to be fun to drive at 4,000 RPM versus winding it out to 8,600 RPM?
Yeah, Taj was saying
Walmart?
that, like, you know, where the old red line was is really where this thing opens up. And that to me speaks to itself, is that right now we have 6,700 RPM and you're saying that that's really where it gets alive. You know, in first gear, am I going to be hitting 80 miles an hour, or am I going to have a really short first gear and then have a lot of fun and playing around on my way to get some steaks and a case of beer for the weekend? That to me is a really good, because that's where you and I really can give people a really good perspective, because we drive our vehicles. We don't raise garage queens in our family. And so that's really where I think you and I excel, is being able to give people a mental picture of what the ownership of this vehicle is going to be like.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I wanted to do from the very beginning with my channel. Was actually one of my playlists is still detailed as this. It says something along the lines of ownership experience, reviews, maintenance items, you know, all these things that a normal person who buys this car, this is what you can count on doing with this car, and how much it costs, how often you have to do it, all that stuff.
Yeah, and how much groceries can you fit in it? Can you do a Costco run? Can you do a Costco run in a Z06? As of right now, it looks to me like the trunk space doesn't look like it made a hit in any way. It looks to me, from what I've seen so far, but who knows if the airbox has moved back the rear trunk. I would assume that
at the end of the day, I think it's going to be slightly resized. I doubt it's going to be anything that's going to blow any minds. I think it's going to be a little bit smaller, but at the end of the day, it's still going to fit your golf clubs. So
I think that's the gold standard that most people either use or don't use, but it's kind of funny that that's the one that we always use to benchmark with it. But in general, you know, you kind of already insinuated that you're really excited about it. What do you think at the end of the day, when you're going to try to go to bed tonight, is going to be the thing that stands out most, that you're going to be looking forward to when you get your black 3LZ in your driveway?
Oh, Lord.
What's going to keep you up tonight when you're thinking about it?
Honestly, I think when they show, I'm not a fan of yellow, like especially not the Accelerate yellow. And when they showed that car, I was like, oh my God, give me that thing. Like, I don't even care it's yellow. But the front end with the real big dive planes on the side, the carbon fiber lip, I think the front end of the C8 has always been the selling point to me. The front end on the Z06 is that times 10. And then the wheel, I don't know, man. Like there's so much. The entire car is just, I have not been this excited about a car. I don't think I've ever been this excited about it.
I'm trying not to sound cliche, but I feel the same way. Like I was even referencing how I came out of the last James Bond film was so excited and happy. As soon as that 26-minute preview was done and they went into that interview, I was just completely pumped. It was really awesome. And I don't even have my name down for one. I got to live vicariously through you and through my customers. And man, I'm really excited. Well, man, honestly, I really appreciate you giving us some insight on what you feel from all of your viewers and all of your experience on the ownership side. I'm excited to see where we can go with this in the future, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of opportunities for us to be able to touch base and to learn more about this until we start seeing these things come out at the end of the summer next year.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate everything, and I'll be in touch.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, man.
See ya. Well, guys, it's been quite a day. I am overwhelmed with excitement, and I'm really excited to start learning more about this Z06. In my opinion, it is kind of bittersweet that the release of the vehicle is not going to be for a little while, because there's a lot of opportunity for us to learn more about it. Let's make some educated decisions. If you're on my list, I'm going to be contacting you and also coming out with some great content to keep you informed about how you can design and build the ultimate Corvette. I see this as being the flagship on top of a flagship for General Motors. And so if you guys are looking at building a great vehicle, or if you're wanting to learn more about awesome products that I have through my dealership here in London, Ontario, I'm all yours. I'd love to be able to help you guys out in your Corvette adventures, and I'm really excited to see what you guys have to come forward with in terms of questions, so we can all discover together all these amazing things that are going to be coming about. I'm Rick Crosbie from Finch Chevrolet in London, Ontario, Canada, and happy motoring.